Friends, as you know, I'm a Disneyland guy. Hard to find a guy who's more of a Disneyland guy than this guy. But every now and again, there is Walt Disney World news that we have to cover. And right now, we'll cover any news we can get that relates to Disneyland or anything that looks like Disneyland. So this morning, over at Walt Disney World in the Magic Kingdom, their Splash Mountain, it sunk. Splash Mountain's been having a hard time right now, as we all know. It's going to be getting rebranded to be more culturally sensitive in the future. Since the park has opened last month out in Orlando, Walt Disney World has been having problems with their Splash Mountain, and the problems continue today. Dare I say, they get worse. Today was Skylar Ingram's very first trip to Walt Disney World in Orlando, the Magic Kingdom. She lives in LA like many of us and decided to go across the country to get a little bit of magic back into her life and go to Walt Disney World. Desperate times, desperate measures. Skylar is 20 years old, visiting with some friends from LA. Earlier today, while riding Splash Mountain, they sunk. I know. This is the local original Splash Mountain. Ours is the original, right? But today, out on the East Coast, our companion Splash Mountain sank. Sky went out with her buds. You can see them all there. Look at the adventure. Look at the adventure. They're ready to go. They're ready to splash. They're ready to drop in. They're even voguing in the back row. Shout out to the guy who's voguing. But earlier today, while they were riding Splash Mountain, their vessel submerged in water and started to sink. So they had said, and they actually had another clip over on their Twitter where they had claimed that they shut the ride down before they sank. They were almost to the end of the ride and they started to notice their boat was taking water over the top. Disney World was having problems with Splash Mountain. They stopped the ride. As they were sitting there, their logs started to take on water and submerge down. They waited in their boat for a while, waiting for somebody to come to get them. But once the boat started to fill it with water, they took it into their own hands and stepped out of the boat. Obviously, this making Disney unhappy. What do they tell us? Keep your arms and legs and children and you inside the ride at all time. So they stepped out as it started to take water. Way to go. Thumbs up. As you can see, where the boat actually went down, that would have meant if they stepped out of the boat, they would step into part of the show area. Now, Splash Mountain has many parts of the attraction where if you stepped out, you would actually just be kind of standing in an open walkway along the flume track. Probably a no-no. Probably a no-no to do that. Now, when the boat went down, or when their log, I should say, went down into the water, they had a confrontation with the cast member that first came up to them. They said they waited for a while, but the log started to sink and started to fill up with more and more water. It was then that they jumped out onto the actual stage, leaving their flume. As soon as we stepped out, pretty much the whole log was submerged underwater, they said. A Disney cast member did attend the scene, but only after Skylar and her friends had to leave the vessel. Now, Skylar says, the cast member that came to evacuate us was very unprofessional, lectured us about staying in the boat, even though it wasn't safe for us to stay seated in the boat because it was full of water and it was submerging. Now, I would say, how deep could this go? I mean, you weren't really in danger. I mean, maybe they didn't know. Maybe they thought they could get electrocuted, but you're certainly not going to drown. And one might say that getting out of the boat and walking around, you might actually slip and fall. And if you were to fall into the water and hit your head, there actually is a greater chance that you could drown leaving the boat on your own versus staying seated in the water. I would have just stayed in the water and be like, Disney's buying me some new clothes and a new phone. They did speak with management and the staff and guest relations, and they were very professional, but she repeats the initial cast member wasn't helpful or professional. Here is a small clip of that conversation. This is a ridiculously small clip, shot vertical, not horizontal. This is not quality journalism, much like what I'm doing today on the stream.
Do you see them both?
So if you listen to it, and I've listened to it several times, cast member, she's telling them you're not supposed to get out of the boat. It's a hazard for you to get out. And you can hear them yelling back that, hey, it's sinking.
Do you see them both? Do you see them both?
So you hear her say, I understand, but this is a safety hazard. So was the cast member rude, or just was the cast member in an awkward situation because they are responsible for your safety? I'm sure that if you have to go back to your team leader and they're like, why did it take you so long to get there? Why were people getting out of the boat? Like that, it makes sense. I feel bad for the cast member. Obviously, nobody wants this to happen. Definitely put into an awkward spot. When you're the attendant that goes there, you're in a box. You've got a lot of Disney rules wrapped all around you. You're just trying to do mostly what you were taught to do. I mean, it is a safety hazard for sure to get out of the boat. Because let's say that it comes unwrestled, it comes unmoved, you could get knocked in. I mean, there is, as I said earlier, there's a far greater chance that you could slip and fall into the water on your own and get hurt than staying in the boat. Definitely a memorable first memory going out to Splash Mountain for this young lady and her friends. But I love seeing some of the comments. I don't want to be mean, but you are the one that went to a theme park in the middle of a pandemic. See, no matter what you do at a Disney park right now, there'll always be somebody, but you went to Disney World during a pandemic. So it's like they could have caught on fire, and it's like, but technically it's your fault because you went during a pandemic. It was a little bit wild to see that they're from Los Angeles and went all the way to Disney World to do this. Mary Kathleen says, if you all slip and fall, you could be knocked out and down, be injured or something similar. If you stay in the boat, you're just going to be sitting in a couple of feet of water. Nothing really dangerous, not even a chance you would drown sitting in there. So they probably should have stayed in the boat, but I also understand that you've got an entire day of Disney World. You don't want to be walking around with soggy shoes, wet pants. I mean, things have sunk before. Disney comps you clothing so that you can enjoy the rest of your stay. I mean, it's Disney. They're not going to leave you high and dry. They'll probably give you some loaner jorts and be like, all right, we're gonna do your laundry. Your pants will be ready right when you get off of Rise of the Resistance. Eben says the cast members were doing their job, and it was definitely an awkward situation. I don't blame the guests for getting out. I would have done the same thing. They were standing on the evac walkway. Since the guests are standing on the evac walkway, they are pretty safe, all things considered. Do you know for sure they were on an evac walkway? Was there an evac walkway where they got off? Because the shot looks like they might have gotten off onto an area where there was show. You don't think they'd give you underwear? Okay, Baker Boy 1958. You don't think that Disney World and all of their supplies and their vast resources, you don't think that they thought we should maybe buy a dozen pair of loaner underwear, still in the seal, still fresh, some loaner boys, because we're bringing all these people out. They're going to eat snacks. They're going to ride rides. We're probably going to have somebody who shits their pants once a day. I'm pretty sure, in case of emergency, there are safety drawers. I know they don't sell undies, Baker Boy, but they also don't sell Band-Aids. And if you cut your finger, I bet you could get a Band-Aid. I'm just saying, Baker Boy, we'll need to find somebody who knows officially. But between me and you, I'm ready to put a bet that Disney, somewhere at their parks, has fresh underpants, sealed and ready to be released in case of emergencies. Call me crazy. I think they thought this one out. All right, Baker Boy says first aid for Band-Aids. All right, they have other amenities. I'm telling you, Baker Boy. I'm telling you. I mean, you're a baker, and I thank you for your service, because nobody loves baked goods more than me. But I'm telling you, they've got to have loaner underwear. What a debate. What a debate. Living Life says it's funny someone could use the argument of not wanting to be wet for the rest of the day. They were on Splash Mountain. The rest of their day involved wet clothes, a sinking boat or not. Well played. Well played. I need everybody in the chat to say, we're going to do a quick vote. And I want you to vote honestly. Do you think if you went to Disney and you got drenched on their fault, you fell into something, a cast member pushed you into the lagoon, and you went down to guest relations, do you think that they would say, we have an entire rig for you? Not just merch that they sell, but do you think they'd have an entire rig of like safety clothes? By the way, how sick would it be to come home and be like, see these underpants? These are the ones that Walt Disney World gave me. May not be the right size. I'm sure Crystal works that they maybe bought a small, medium, large, double XL. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they would think out the size. Like, oh, here's the problem. We bought safety underpants, but we only bought them in underoos. So are you a Superman or a Batman type of guy? Wrong property. But don't you worry. Don't you worry about our girl Crystal from LA. Is that her name? Skylar. Don't you worry about our girl Skylar. Her and her man, her and her boyfriend continued to have their magical trip out of Walt Disney World. And to them, I wish them the very best. I hope that they have a great vacation. I hope they make the most of this damn pandemic and they rip the park. Could you imagine being the person that has to go to Target and go, okay, so I'm buying underwear for strangers that just sank on Splash Mountain. Are they feeling sexy? Are they feeling sporty? Like, you know, dudes' underwear, and that's a pretty easy column. But if you get into buying ladies' underwear, well, the world's your oyster. There's no telling where that could go. Sometimes when you ride Splash Mountain, you're going to get wet. Sometimes when you ride rides, you're not going to get the entire ride that you were promised. But for those of us that love the rides, getting to walk off of an attraction is one of the greatest honors a Disney fan can ever get. Now, I know it's not convenient when it's your first ride on the attraction, but save for this memory, Skylar, you will not forget your first ever Walt Disney World ride on Splash Mountain. It's so many different media outlets being like, yo, can we have this footage? Everybody right now is obsessed that the parks opened up during the pandemic. We would like to show that things are going bad. We would love to show that the boats are sinking. I need to paint the inside of this hat black. That's a big problem with this hat. That was a big problem with my video in the background too. All right, let's start this. I know. This is the local original Splash Mountain. Ours is the original, right? Bricky, you've been at the bottom for so long. You got the worst YouTube channel ever. Don't let any of us get you down. You're already down. You can't go much lower. Thank you. That's how I pump myself up. It's a reverse psychology. Work twice as hard as everybody else for a fraction of the results. That's how I grind. Okay, let's do this. Dark Knight, what's up, brother?